if you lie to yourself all the time, it's just a matter of time before you get caught lying to other people. But you don't end up lying to another human if you have not already lied to yourself.
Yes. If you want to upgrade your life, upgrade your questions. Low performers are often asking themselves the question, what's the least I can do and not get fired, or what's the least I can do and get by? And then performers are asking the question, how can I do a good job?
This is a bad chick right here. Like, this is a fiercely strong, confident, competent, and applicable thinker. Why do most people play their life so small?
It's safe, or we don't know we're doing it. I remember thinking, where has this been all my life?
Lights On is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's okay to struggle. Real strength comes from opening up about what you're carrying and doing something about it, so you can be at your best for yourself and for the people in your life that you love. Therapy is not just about trauma. It's about learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries in your life that create new freedom. With over 35,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people. And it works too, with an App Store rating of 4.9 based on over 1.7 million client reviews. And it's convenient. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapy and therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a variety of expertise. So talk it out with BetterHelp. So our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/lightson. That's BetterHelp.com/lightson.
Lights on. My friend Janet Breitenbach.
Yes.
Close?
Oh, wonderful.
Did I nail it?
Yes, yeah.
Such an honor and privilege to have you. Thank you for coming.
I love that I'm here.
I am going to, as quickly as I can, frame who you are, because I feel like this is going to be pivotal for a lot of people to have somebody as smart as you who makes things so applicable. It's a gift. So if you're just checking in today with Lights On, glad you're here. Subscribe to the channel, do all the things, but definitely listen close, because I feel strongly that some of the things we're going to get into can make an impact today. That's what has to happen. And there's something in your life that can shift if you're open to it. And my first encounter with you is in the broader scope of me totally being open to changing everything about the way I think, which led me to Novus Global, which led me to MPI, which is the training kind of thing that you put in place to get people to a different place as a coach.
Yes.
And at one of these seminar things I go to, you're teaching. Yeah. And I remember sitting there going, this is a bad chick right here. Like, this is a fiercely strong, confident, competent, and applicable thinker. That's what struck me the most about the way that you explain things, is your ability to give people handles, which was my favorite thing as a preacher and as a listener of preachers, for instance. I'm like, I don't care how great your thought is. Yeah. If I can't figure out what to do with it. Yeah. And so if you've never heard some of my story with Novus, there is a coaching firm that has a very specific set of tools that they use that unlock so much in me, radically transformative. And so any chance I get, I'm trying to get everyone that has impacted me in this chair, because I'm like, I don't want to save that. I think that it's so much fun. Do you enjoy your life as one of, in my opinion, you are so excellent at what you do. And how do you even describe it? Because I use coach just because most people get it, but you and I both know it's so much more than that.
Yeah. I like explaining what I do because there are so many terms, there's so many ways of describing it. I've met people that call themselves coaches, and I would say they're more consultants, like they give advice. But yeah, I mean, it's human performance. And, you know, Jason, who you've also had on the podcast, just is an incredible creator. And a lot of the tools that we use came from him. And we just are obsessed with human performance. And so I've always loved personal development. Yeah. But when I encountered this work, it absolutely disrupted me. It was unlike any book I'd read, any teacher. It was just... I remember thinking, where has this been all my life? And I'm grateful I encountered it when I did. And yes, I love what I do. It's a passion of mine. I love the clients that I get to work with and the people I get to meet. So,
it's exactly what it did for me. I had to spend a lot of that time managing that feeling of kicking myself like, mother effer. This is so clear. Why haven't I seen things from this angle? And I always use the diamond. Like Novus to me spun that diamond. It's the same thing, but from that angle, the way the light hits it. And that's what I've seen it do for other people as well. In their relationship with people, their job, to their faith, radically transformative. Tell me this, why do most people play their life so small?
I mean, the easy answer, it's safe, or we don't know we're doing it. But you've probably remember from the training, we talk a lot about the survival needs, our need to look good, feel good, be right, be in control. To me, it all comes down to that. And so often we don't even know we're doing it. And I think it's scary. It's scary to ask myself hard questions like, is there more available to me? Or am I playing small? There's a lot of people who would say, oh no, I'm playing big. And we can't do surgery on ourselves. That's why even as a coach, I have a coach, because I know that even though I know, quote unquote, all these tools and frameworks and all this thinking, that I still need someone to hold space for me to explore how I'm getting in my own way, because that's humanity. Like humanity is, we want to feel safe. And sometimes even when we think we're taking risks, we're doing it in a way that might be detrimental or, so I just love having that conversation with people.
You even bring up an interesting point. Me coming out of the ministry world, it's very easy to see. It's not said of everybody, but often pastors will say they have pastors, but for all intents and purposes, when you get to the top of whatever totem pole you've constructed, it can be a very isolated, weird world. What I noticed quickly about your structure, Nova's structure, is every coach has a coach. To the person who's like, I've gotten this far, why do I need a coach? What do you say to people like that?
I meet coaches all the time, every day, because oftentimes, and I just moved to Kansas City, so I'm getting to know that world and networking there, and I meet lots of coaches, and it always bums me out when I see how often people are like, oh no, I don't have a coach right now. Like, oh, I can't afford it. I'm like, but you are saying that what you're bringing to others is valuable,
right? And
that it's in some ways necessary, and in some ways will cost you your dreams if you don't have that, but you're not willing to have it yourself. And that's usually what tells me that the format that they're using is like, hey, one and done. Like, here's a tool. Okay, now that you have it, you know it. But that, ironically, blind spots is like the what is the saying? The hardest thing to see is that what you think you already know, that whole thing, And so it's such a dangerous path that a lot of coaches, even a lot of, teachers, therapists, pastors, anyone in the helping world, it is super easy to think that, oh no, I already did this.
Right.
I'm good. And it's like, oh no.
No, you're not.
Actually, that's when it becomes a stronger blind spot, because I know all the things. I know all the tools, the mindsets. I know the dangers of, X, Y, Z. And so, and now I'm forgetting your question, but
No, to the person who says they don't need it.
Yes.
So you get, when you get into the work, one big shift for me was to put down my old labels and allow new labels to arise. And with words, it really matters. Integrity.
Yes.
Before I collide with Jason Jaggard and Andrew Simula, integrity to me was a deeply moral, heavy, imperative, important word, always attached to sometimes the underlying is righteous, unrighteous. Sinner, non-sinner. Faithful, unfaithful, integrity. And that's true. There's a world where that lives. But can you explain the way you use it? Because it was transformative for me, and it made that version of integrity even brighter for me.
Yeah, for sure. And even if you look up the definition of integrity, you'll see the moral version of it, which is great. But I think it's like the secret sauce to exploring what you're capable of. And it's understanding integrity as workability. So when you think of something that's workable, so if a bridge lacks integrity, you're probably not going to drive over it, right? If a bicycle lacks integrity, it has a flat tire, a broken chain, it's not going to go very fast. And the same is absolutely true for high performers, leaders, people who are going after big things. If if you have broken integrity, meaning defined by doing what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it. And there's an even longer explanation
say it
to that.
Again slowly, because it's such a funny, simple, and powerful thing. So give me your definition of integrity again.
Okay, so doing what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it.
Right. That's the issue I have with it. That makes it hard.
Exactly. Very hard. Well, and you know what's funny is we used to say doing what you say you're going to do. And then we added the by when, because so many times I've experienced people who are like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. And it's like, by when?
Yes.
And what's interesting is that we don't understand there's so many hidden costs to being out of integrity. And it's so hidden, it's so sneaky. It's like underneath it all, like we start to lose trust with ourselves. And so really you can put the word trust with integrity. You are only going to go as fast towards your dreams as the level of trust you have with yourself and others. And so that's why integrity is so important. But equally important is removing any shame to the conversation.
Huge. Yeah.
Because, even like earlier we were joking because we started late. You were like, I'm sorry. No, bro, it's okay. It's like, but like,
it's a value to me now.
Right?
I'm so conscious of it. I said this time, there are reasons that it didn't happen, but that matters to me now. It was before, it's like, it is what it is. You know what I meant. It's like, that's the world I left.
Yeah. We try to avoid like blame. So we like minimize it. And oftentimes we'll go and work with leaders and their teams, and we'll have them rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 on how well you keep your word to others. So 10 being, I always keep my word to others. 1 being, very low. So Carl, what would you rate yourself?
Now or before?
Now. Let's say now. Because you could always rate yourself.
I would be probably an 8.
Okay, 8. Yeah. Great. And then what about scale of 1 to 10, keeping your word to yourself?
4.
Okay. And that's very common. Like most people will rate themselves higher. And the little more weight on the bar, so to speak, I like to say is like, whatever number you picked for either of those, take away 3. And that's probably the more honest.
I know.
Which I hate also.
It's so beautiful. Take away 3.
But it's like a great way to okay, there's no shame. Like, what if you just tried on that number and explored, okay, what would make it a 10?
Right.
And also, why am I thinking breaking my word to myself is less important?
That's the beautiful marker. That you guys bring up, that you bring up better in a clearer way. And I think I in my life of overcoming a life of a lack of integrity in areas, that was a big deal, because if you lie to yourself all the time, it's just a matter of time before you get caught lying to other people. Some people never do get caught, but they lie to themselves all the time, and that price is great. But you don't end up lying to another human if you have not already lied to yourself. How many people do you think are sitting and living with lies that they tell themselves often? If I'm admittedly going, I'm on the journey, I'm on the path, I'm on the page, and I'm still very cognizant of my 4, which could be a 1. But being aware of it is huge. But do you think it's still? Well,
yeah, naturally. And even when people start working with me, they'll come in with an idea of what their number is. And naturally, because now we actually are placing your words somewhere that we can both see it, whether it's like a document or a Asana board or whatever it is, most people don't have a place where their word lives. So I always ask the question, like, where does your word live? Or where are you capturing your word? Because I'll say it and then I'll forget about it. And this happens with teams all the time. A team will get on a meeting and they'll all say, oh, okay, I'll do that this week.
Where?
And then the next week they'll come to the meeting and say, didn't someone say they were going to do this? And it's like, where does that live? And so naturally, when people start working with an executive coach, if integrity is part of the conversation, which I sure hope it is, because that's an incredible framework, is you're naturally going to find more broken commitments in your life than you did before someone was actually asking you, hey, did you do that thing you said you were going to do? So it's natural, right? That's why it's so important to not bring shame to it.
Which is hard for people with a Christian construct. To eliminate shame. Joseph King Barkley, a mutual friend, I heard him offhand one time say, I'm not committed to that. And I was like, that must be freeing. It wasn't like I can't do it, won't do it. No, I'm just not committed to that right now. And I remember going, I want to be like that. I want to be able to look at someone and say, I'm not committed to, I was joking about the podcast construction with a friend. I was like, I'm not committed to learning the technical side. I own that. Yeah. I just want to. I'm going to pay. I'm going to do what I have to do. But to be able to take the shame out and to stand on, like I broke a commitment. Okay. Doesn't mean that you are this. If you are a recovering harsh Christian to yourself, the weight of that becomes so non-resourceful to who you're becoming. So you have found a way to dial in really easily. Like, no, it is what it is. It's not necessarily that. A broken commitment is. As
far as the shame, absolutely. Yeah. And I will say it is like all of these tools, it's a muscle, so that internal shame, if that's habitual for you, it is something you can learn over time. I think it took me, a couple of years at least before I started to easily admit to my coach, hey, I broke a commitment without me feeling defensive or wanting to share excuses or, it was just so natural.
Did you find yourself, I find myself leaning into it because there's power. Yes. So it's almost like once you've learned that secret, so, hey, Roman, I told you 5 o'clock bike ride. I broke that commitment to you. Yeah. I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? Yeah. Let me know how that's impacted you because I want to talk about it. There is context. There's some reasons. Yeah. Inconsequential unless you want to know. Yeah. And I find myself, you can see the response of people. Even walking through the apology thing is huge. Like just a simple, it goes back to the integrity of it. Yeah. Like people brush off stuff like that. And your framework was the first one that I heard how deeply endearing and reverent and respectful it can be to honor a broken commitment. Like, hey, I'm sorry that I was late. Yeah. Can you let me know how that made you feel, how it impacted you? So I can, and you're like, I didn't feel anything. Now I feel like you love me even more. I'm good. But if the case might have been where it did, you have a chance to actually say it. So even the loss is a win if you learn the power.
1,000%. And it's always funny to see the faces of the executives when we walk into a room and invite them to say, hey, will you forgive me? Because it's just like, it's not work speak.
Forget about ministry for us. I mean, can you imagine? And there are some epically humble, amazing pastors. There's also a whole lot of pastors who would never, they would hire you and then go play golf and go, how'd you go with my team? And you'd be like, you're the problem, bro. You wouldn't say that. I would. But that's a huge issue in churches where the leader is like, help me with my team. Hate to break it to you. Your team is a reflection of exactly who you are. To the T.
Yeah. Well, and same thing when it comes to, we often have leaders come to us and say, hey, I want you guys to start coaching my team. I'll say, great. So you're going to be a part of that too. So no, it's, my team needs to get coached.
My team needs it,
It's like, well, it's actually going to break trust. So coming back to trust, if they're learning a whole new language, they're learning how to make powerful requests, create clear agreements, honor their word. And if you're not speaking that same language, it's only actually going to create separation. And we're going to feel a little bit like our hands are tied because there's no synergy between that. So I absolutely love it when companies come to us and they're actually like, yes, I want it too. Like, I want to lift the weights. I want to learn about where I'm getting in my own way. I want to take radical ownership. I want to turn up the dial on my integrity. And it's like, I just love it when that happens because so much movement starts to happen immediately when everyone on the team is getting coached.
You know, where I found personally when I look back on my previous chapters of leadership, I broke my word so much with good intention.
Sure.
And that's where I found most people relate to because in a pastoral sense, it's, hey, I'd love to hang. Yeah. That might not be true. Yeah. But I said it. Yeah. Hey, call me this week. We'll get together. Yeah. I mean it, but I have no idea how I'm going to manage it, but I feel better in the moment. Now I feel like crap the rest of the day and you multiply that by thousands. Yeah. And now you live with an embedded shame code that you have developed for yourself. So to be on this side of it, to be so careful with even the way you say goodbye to people, that's when you know your integrity starting to kind of lift levels a little bit because you're like, hey, it was great to see you rather than talk to you later.
Yes.
That's a throwaway to somebody else. But once you got on the page of this, you're like, it was good to see you.
Well, it's temporary feel good.
Yes.
for long-term cost, long-term broken trust, broken relationship. And so it comes back to that, like, am I willing to be honest and integral in what I'm saying right now? And it may not feel good right now, but it's going to create a long-term great feeling and build trust with that person.
Yeah. Would you say the integrity piece is when you're trying to reshape somebody's future? Yeah. Is it that one of the biggest things you have to lean on right away?
I think it's huge, especially if someone's willing to play with it. And I use the word play intentionally because, again, if someone comes in fact, just the other day, I had a client come to a call and they were kind of being shifty. And I say, hey, what's going on with you? They're like, well, I didn't do that thing I said I was going to do. And I was like, okay, what's happening for you underneath it all? Because I'm like, I don't care. Whatever. You didn't do it. I want to know what's going on underneath it. And she's like, well, I feel like I'm disappointing you. I was like, okay, great. That's really good data. So is that happening in other areas?
My gosh. My favorite question of all time. Where might that be showing up in your life?
Where else is that showing up?
I had that with Rosie, who was an integral part of my coaching training. And I found myself doing stuff to not displease her. I'm going, what on earth? Like, this does not impact her. Like, if I'm doing this so I can show up with so even the check of it is like a beautiful, beautiful
Well, isn't that crazy? Like, we hire someone to hold help space for us.
And I want to impress you
and
now.
advocate for us, but then we hide from that person.
It's like lying to your therapist.
Exactly.
Why would you lie to your therapist?
It's an absolute waste of time, your
for
future.
Everybody. Yeah.
But it's that, and to me, that's the phenomenon of being a human and wanting to be safe, is that oftentimes we hide from ourselves, the very people that we're sometimes even paying to help us. And we hide. And so you've heard this phrase. We say the phrase, the person who tells on themselves first wins. We say that a lot because it just gives people an opportunity to say, hey, let's break the part of your brain that thinks like, I need to hide, I need to perform. Tell on yourself, telling yourself, hey, I have a broken commitment.
Do you know how fun it is to have friends who are on the same journey? Like Andrew is a mutual friend of ours. We had a 10-minute over ownership fun fight where the guy, I could have done more. No. I definitely could have done more. And you're like, man, this is weirdly healthy. Like you're used to people who are trying to take the least amount, but when you're around somebody who's like, no, it could have been on me. It could have been my fault. It's like, no way, man. It's my fault. That's a place where I think you want to get to.
Well, and it's productive.
Yeah,
you
helpful.
actually create trust with each other.
Lights On is proud to partner with God Behind Bars. And if there's one organization worthy of your time and investment, I believe it's organizations just like this. Let me read you some stats that will really wake you up to the problem of incarceration in our world. Less than 14% of inmates are serving life sentences, and up to as many as 95% of all incarcerated individuals will be released back into society at some point. 27% of those released will return to prison within 3 years. 82% will return to prison within 10 years. God Behind Bars addresses this drastic recidivism problem with a unique approach that focuses on the spiritual, physical, and relational needs of inmates and their families. The mission is very simple. It is to restore lives, rebuild families, and prove that nobody is beyond God's reach, no matter their past or their prison walls. God Behind Bars is changing lives. I saw a clip recently of a father-daughter dance that they did with fathers that are obviously incarcerated, and by the grace of God, they organized this beautiful event, and it made me violently cry because nobody should feel forgotten. Don't care what you've done. And God Behind Bars is changing lives every single day. Proud to partner with them. Check them out today, godbehindbars.com. There is a Pando app that is gaining steam, and they get resources, they get hope, they get mental health help. Through this app, they're reaching a lot of people. So please check them out today. God Behind Bars. What an organization. Lights On is partnering with plana.org. It's a phenomenal organization that is built to empower women who have faced with all kinds of unexpected circumstances, especially when it comes to pregnancy. and they offer support, they offer tools, they offer community. And if you wanted to know how can I immediately help somebody who really needs it, check out plana.org today. We love them. You will too. And you can make a difference in the life of somebody today just by checking them out. Plana.org. We love y'all.
I love talking to you. You're so good at this. I think it's cool to see people come alive.
Yes.
That's how I describe when people are in a position to invest in themselves. I always tell them, come alive in a new way, because you cannot see what you cannot see.
Yeah.
So if you don't need somebody to lift that, but if you talk to somebody who's great at what they do already,
Yes.
what's that like? Talking to somebody that is, trophies, Travis Scott cereal boxes. Yeah. I've got a couple. I got a Jordan candle. Yeah. I've achieved a lot, Janet. Okay? Yeah. What can you do for a guy like me?
Oh my goodness. I love this conversation.
The highest of achievers.
I love this conversation so much because it's most of my clients. And Jason just did an incredible talk where the primary objective is what happens when you're already good at what you do. Because there's I'm forgetting the book. All my references will be wrong, but it takes 10,000 hours to become really good at something.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes.
Blink,
okay.
Perhaps.
So 10,000 hours, right? But
yep.
we will work for about 100,000 hours. So what happens for the rest of the time?
Yeah, that's good.
Like, you already are good at what you do. And this is why I encounter so many people who are ambitious, who are high achievers, who are really, really talented, really good at what they do, and they're simultaneously bored and overwhelmed. They're coasting, so they're burnt out. And not because they're not hitting their goals, but because they feel like they're the only one who can do it right. Their team can't do it. Like, I got here because I'm good at what I do. And now maybe they're struggling to scale the impact, to scale their team, to create, to duplicate themselves.
Yeah.
And so this is where I encounter a lot of leaders who have burnout, and maybe they're like, hey, I'm great. Or they struggle to dream for what's next. Because, hey, I achieved my dreams. Look at all my trophies.
Right.
But okay, what's that thing that you're scared about achieving again? What does reinvention look like when you're already good at what you do?
Okay, so let's say that person's into it. Mm-hmm. Where do you go?
Start with asking those questions. And Jason talks a lot about the arrested effect, which is the power of questions. And you're really good at this on this podcast too. You present a lot of great questions. So many people think they have to answer every question. But the power is often in the questions,
yes,
which is literally the arrested effect that the brain does. So when I ask you, what's your name, your brain will have a hard time not wanting to answer that. Yeah. So if you want to upgrade your life, upgrade your questions, upgrade the questions you're asking yourself, which is, if people are listening, interested in this, I would highly recommend buying the book Beyond High Performance, because then we talk about what meta performance is, which is meta to transform, to reinvent. Meta performers are asking themselves the question, what am I capable of?
Go through I love the pyramid.
Okay, you like the pyramid.
So
all right.
Low performers say what?
Low performers are often asking themselves the question, what's the least I can do and not get fired, or what's the least I can do and get by?
America.
Me when it comes to making myself lunches.
Sure.
Because I have an amazing husband who makes
3 days
awesome
a week.
Yeah, exactly. What's the least I can do and just get by?
Every 16-year-old boy.
Exactly. And then performers are asking the question, how can I do a good job? Which is an upgrade. That's probably me and my taxes. I don't want to high perform my taxes. I just want to do what I need to do.
Don't want to go to jail.
I don't want to go to jail. So I probably don't want to low perform my taxes, but hey, I want to do a good job. That's great. And then high performance, of course, which is the most common phrase that goes around, especially around companies and teams.
High performer,
which is how can I be the best?
Right.
Which is great.
Okay, so we normally stop there.
Yeah.
High performers, let's do a conference on high performers.
Yes.
And you ask, how can I be great?
Yeah, how can I be the best? Yeah,
cool.
How can I be great? How can I be the best? And
meta. Go meta.
Yes, okay, so you want to go meta?
Yep,
you ready?
right there. Go.
All right, so the problem with high performance, though, is that there's a lot of challenges. People are simultaneously overwhelmed and bored, like we mentioned.
Yep.
They avoid feedback. So you often are walking around on eggshells with that person because they want to keep their position as the high performer.
Yeah.
Like, wait, I'm the best around here. What do you mean I'm not doing a good job? Like, you can't tell me that, right? So there's often challenges with teams that see themselves as high performers because they're competitive. They want to keep themselves at the top. So oftentimes they will hedge their bets. They will do a lot of sandbagging, if you know that phrase.
Oh, I live it.
Yeah. So because like I'm going to do what I need to do to win, even if that means I'm going after smaller goals.
There you go.
Wow. And so that speaks to your earlier thing, which is like, oftentimes the people I'm working with don't see themselves as not dreaming big, but we will often, I'll say I'm a recovering high performer, which is I will often shoot for things that I know I can achieve.
Yes.
So that's why meta performers are asking, what are we capable of?
Meta performers, what am I capable of? Like what I know I can do.
Yes.
To me is the trap.
Yes.
And what you're pointing to is, what might you be capable of?
Yeah. Well, and you'll notice, like, how can I be the best versus what are we capable of? Because usually reinvention and going after big dreams requires other people, and it's just a bigger game to play. Jason will say a lot, like, if your dreams don't involve other people, your dreams are too small.
Beautiful.
So it's like, how can you actually involve the we part of that, like whether it's your community, your team, your culture, like how do I want to reinvent the game so that what we're going after helps everyone to win? And when we work with teams of high performers that begin to play that game and they go, what if we all helped each other on another level? What if we reinvented how the industry achieves things in this way, right? That becomes a new fun kind of space to play in, and that's when it really teases the imagination.
Let me ask you something that I think it's off the chart, but it's relevant in that I have found a ton of people that are in this place where they don't love their life at all.
Yeah.
They have no idea what to do. And when you sit there and you open up like what you might be capable of, if they're honest, man, it gets dark and complex quick. But what's that push maybe for someone who, because once I am able to sit there with somebody and say, I have a dad who doesn't live near his son, and it's like, man, it sounds, I keep hearing you say you want to live near, but I can. Why can't you? And then he'll go, and I'll ask some different questions, but there's a lot of people like that. They're like, okay, hands up, I'll admit, I don't love my life. I don't love Novus calls it the winning strategy, which is such a funny, backhanded, encouraging slap. Like, here's your winning strategy for all your losing stats, but that's your strategy. Sure. What do you do with, let's just say, I know there's somebody watching right now who's like, I want to burst through. What do you do with people like that?
Yeah, well, and even in that example, the focus is on like, hey, definitively, this is not possible for me. But then sometimes it can be easy to get stuck or even obsessed with our limitations. Like, no, I can't move there. So my job as a coach actually isn't to argue with you about that, because one, I'm never going to win that game. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, sure, you cannot do that thing. Now what? What do you want to create? You know, and we talk about it as like generative thinking or creating a future rather than looking only at what has been or what is, which is how most people create their future. And that's a default future, right? So most people, everyone, we all right now have a default future. It's what happens if nothing changes. And that's fine. But you have to help someone get connected enough to the cost of staying in that complaint. Yes. You know, there's a payoff and a cost, as you know, from a lot of the work that we did, which is, you know, I get to keep complaining that it's impossible. You know, I get to, but then there's a cost. I avoid creating a future that I'm excited about. Yeah. So I'm just staying in what is, rather than painting the picture of a future. I would say one of the hardest things for people is simply giving themselves permission to dream, to paint that picture, because we're obsessed with like, but I already know, Janet, like that's not possible. And it's like, okay, how about we just play a game? You know, like let's just Give
Don't
yourself
judge yourself
permission
for a second.
to just throw it out there, paint that picture. We talk about a vision. Vision is a picture of the future that produces passion within you. And most people are just going after what they think tomorrow is possible.
Yeah.
So,
survival. Have you ever sat across from somebody and thought, I can't help this person?
Oh, yeah.
What led to that? What is...
I mean, the biggest thing is someone has to have 1% desire to see things in a way that's going to be resourceful. And notice I said the word resourceful because it's resourceful towards their vision, not positive or negative. And I don't even like positive, negative,
Yes. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows that word because resourceful is the word that is used in this house more than anything else. Yeah. And to go right back to what you're saying, sorry to cut you off. It can lead to, it can simplify moral things. Yeah. It's like, hey son, it's not right or wrong. Yeah. This opportunity to look at pornography. Okay. You want to go super heavy with the Holy Spirit on this? When we talk about Jesus, we can. Yeah. But the time it's going to cost you to try to find a way to do that and to look at this and what it'll do to your shame cycle. And then what you have to do tomorrow, it's just not resourceful. Yeah. You don't even have to go there. Yeah. And that's why that word has so much dynamite to it. Yeah. And what's interesting, because I even know saying this, people will have struggle with this because so many people want to assign good, bad, right or wrong. Right. And yes, there are 100%. Things in this world that are good, bad, right, and wrong. Yeah. But often we're tempted to assign it to things that actually don't need a moral assignment. Great. And so then all that does is it keeps us in the should. Like an example being, I should love my career, or I should go after this job, and that job is amoral. Like there's no, there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. There's just what do you want? What would be fun to go after? Yeah. But we often want to assign like this. No, this is rather than like, hey, does that behavior or that thinking help you get to where you want? Or does it harm you from getting to where you want? And that's the only question I'm concerned about with my clients, because I'm just not going to argue with if you think this is absolutely impossible. Right. Yeah. Okay, great. Let's not go after it. I'm not going to spend that much time trying to convince you. Like, okay, great. Well, when you have done this for a really long time at a really high level, is there a limiting belief? You have to make a public statement about the limiting belief that more of us would share than not. Would there be one? Well, I will say this. I love this when I learned this, which is that all limiting beliefs come down to 3 main beliefs. Ooh, go. Okay. And this is helpful because you're coaching people too, right? So this will be helpful. So it's what's wrong with me, or something's wrong with me. What's wrong with them? What's wrong with it? So what's wrong with me? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with it? Brilliant. So all limiting beliefs come down to so what's wrong with me is like, I'm not good enough, or I can't do it, or whatever it is. What's wrong with them is my boss won't let me, Yep. It's my boss's fault that I can't turn this company around. Right. What's wrong with it is like the world. Yeah. Or the industry. I grew up, born and raised in Los Angeles, so a lot of my clients on my roster at the beginning of my career were people in the entertainment industry, and the amount of times I heard, well, in this industry, it's all about who you know. Right. And I was like, but it was used as an excuse to not go after what they want. So really all beliefs come down to those 3 things. And we think we're so unique in our beliefs and that they're right. Terminally unique. Yes, exactly. It was like, no, let's just call it. I don't care if it's right or wrong. Let's just call it what it is. It's a belief. And you usually know something's a belief because it's vague too, right? A fact is like if I'm a leader of a sales company and we sold $1 million this quarter, that's a fact. A belief might sound more like, I just can't get my team to get this revenue up. It's like, okay, is that true? Is, what's going on there? And that's when it gets fun to explore. Oh, is that what's getting in your way? Is that getting in the way of your leadership? How is that helping you or harming you? It's extremely, extremely powerful. What did you do before you became this epic mental strategist?
I had a myriad of careers.
You didn't just wake up able to pick people apart with questions like you do now?
I will say I always had a fascination with personal development, leadership in all of my 20s. I had what felt to me like a tumultuous decade in my 20s. I tried all kinds of jobs. I always did good wherever I went, but I do remember the turning point for me was when I felt like I was going from job to job. I would always get promoted, but I always felt like I just know there's like more available to me, but I just didn't know how to capture it. And I remember, I think I was 32 years old. No, actually 30 years old. So it's like 12 years ago now. And I went to actually a workshop. It was led by 2 executive coaches, and it was called Leading Your Life. And I was like, oh, great. It's like leadership. And that weekend disrupted me in all the best ways. And it was that same thing of like, where has this feedback been my whole life? And because I always felt like I would do a good job. I was classic high performer. I would always do great wherever I was. I was good at doing the thing, getting the promotion, but then I would hit a ceiling. And I didn't know what was wrong.
It would feel kind of empty.
Right? Yeah. I will say, I also did a lot of improv comedy. And so I do actually tell a lot of our coaches, like, do improv classes because I find it to be very helpful in this career, which is
the best.
Might be surprising. I don't know if it's surprising, but the concept of yes-anding as a coach is such a helpful muscle, because I think a lot of coaches have this no-but energy. They want to prove, no, you can do it.
And
it's like, no. Like, don't fight them on it.
And there's coaches out there, and if that's your speed, go for your life.
Yes.
I just, they're to me, that is right in the lane also of a pastor that it's a guru.
Yes.
I don't necessarily want to give you all the tools, because then what good am I? So there's a church undercurrent that has a lot to do with control. And it's almost like if I tell you some of these tools on how to think, you might see me in how if I were to sit down with a pastor who thought like that, I'd tell you, what would that make you if you produced people that thought on their own and lived great lives? What would that make you? And it's a
totally natural thing when you get into any sort of helping profession to want to be the one with the answers. Because it feels so good. Like, oh, they need me. And I think that's what's harder. And I find like the best coaches know how to actually hold space and find the genius in their clients. It's not about me having the answers. It's about helping you see how you're getting in your own way.
What was the thing for you, if you were to break some of this down, that really hit you in the heart and transferred to the head, maybe? And it was a click for you. Because for me, the novice thing, I don't know if you had a moment like I did, but it was a question about the way you're experiencing life is exactly how you want it. And I had a violent reaction to that. I was like, I hate this. I hate this line of thinking. I had so many reasons, and a very loving coach that we both know was like, just sit on it for 24 hours. And I was like, oh, I will. And I came back 24 hours later, and I was like, unfortunate news for my pride. My life, my experience is exactly the way I want it. Because if I didn't want it like that, I would change it. And it began a new speed of transformation. Did you have one of those?
Oh, for sure. Well, let's see. I'm thinking of 2 different ones, but the one that was big for me that I feel like you might have referenced on this podcast before, but it was the do have be versus be do have. Have you?
Yeah.
Do you remember
I
that?
haven't really dipped into it here, but that's.
Well, because I remember when it was actually at that same workshop, and they wrote down on a piece of paper in the front of the room, do, and then underneath it have, and then underneath that be. Wait, do have be. Yes. And with an arrow going down. And they talked through it. They said most people are going through life thinking, what do I need to do to have what I need to have in order to be enough, successful, alive, fill in the blank. And I remember to this day my brain going, yeah, I know, that's how it works. Like that, I was like, what is he about to, what's the reveal here? I was on the edge of my seat, because that was exactly how I had lived my life up until that point. I was like, I need to figure out what to do, and someone's got to tell me.
Yeah, and then I'll have it.
And some of the other way I've heard a coach flip it, sometimes people are like, have, do, be, which is, I don't have the resources yet. I can't start my business because I don't have an investor yet. Yep. I can't do this thing because I need more money or I need more resources. And then I can do it, and then I can be. So I was just like, well, what's it supposed to be?
Wow.
And then they did the be, do, have, and they helped us ground into, like, you get to choose who you are, who you want to be.
Yes.
And then from that will naturally flow your actions, who what you do. And it's less tumultuous because when you're living on the do, have, be, let's say sometimes I do the wrong things and sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's my be is like constantly in flux. I'm like, today was a great day. Like it worked. And then tomorrow it doesn't work. And my whole identity is crushed and I'm a failure. And I'm so reliant on things working right. Whereas the other side, if I start with the be, I could say, I am a person who takes risks, who's honest, who advocates for others. And let's say that one day I say something that rubs someone wrong and the client, like is like offended. And I'm like, oh, that's not fun.
Yes.
But it doesn't rock my identity.
The whole world.
It doesn't rock my whole world because I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And by the way, this is like constant. This is not like you've arrived once.
Never. No.
Just this last week, I was having another, existential crisis. Like,
yes.
Who am I?
Yeah.
But like, it's so grounding to have that to go back to.
Yes.
And to go like, who am I choosing to be this week?
Yeah.
Today. And then what I do and what I have is secondary, tertiary. It's icing on the cake.
One of the most painful realities of that is that I profess to be a follower of Jesus, and guess who was the biggest be, do, have guy ever?
Oh, I know.
The guy from Nazareth. Mm-hmm. And we have just skipped over that. I had even broached it at times preaching, but now from the way that I see it now, I'm like, if people get that, it's the most. I mean, do have, but be. Mm-hmm. It's like, blessed are those that do won't find that. Yeah. Blessed are those that have the. Won't find that, but blessed are those as if you're supposed to be that. That's a game changer. Mm-hmm. We don't go there a lot.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Yeah. Whew, man, that's the questions you wish people would ask you. What would those be?
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll answer that in a way, not with one question, but I wish more people would make requests in general. So, I fly around and I go to see clients, and oftentimes we'll tell the whole room, hey, we're here during breaks, we're here during lunch. If you have questions, pick our brain. And it happens so few times. And we were with this client in New York a month ago, and this one guy came to me. We were having a happy hour, and he came up to me and he sat with me at the bar, and he actually was like, I want to know how I'm getting in my own way. And I was like, awesome. And there's this, so when I saw you were going to ask me that question, I was like, what is the question? There's not one question. What I wish people would do was actually ask for help more often. Yeah. And even when it comes to me, obviously I know I do this for a living, and I think I have people who are like, well, I don't want to bother you. You do this all the time. But if someone ever comes up to me and is like, I want to use the tools that you have. It's like I'm a doctor who is on an airplane, and someone's like, I need help. And it's that person's not like mad. They're like, I'm so glad I get to help. And that's what I feel when people are willing to like actually make a bold request. Yeah. And bold requests in general is we actually do an exercise for our trainings where we have people get up in the room and they stand up, and we invite them to go make a bold request. And every single time I think, this exercise is not going to work. I'm sure this team is talking to each other. They all love each other. They've said so many times how it's such a loving team. Yes. We all get along. And I'm always fascinated with people shaking in their boots to go just simply ask something that 99% of the time is either given a yes or a, well, let's try to figure this out, or a maybe a not for now, but later. And so my big thing that I try to preach, at the top of my lungs is healthy people ask for what they want. Like, make bold requests. Now, if you are the recipient of that, you can also say no.
Yes. If I go make it personal, vulnerable, I think as I grow and become probably an area that needs the most water is my tendency to go catastrophic quick. And it's a check of the nervous system. It's like, if you really start to try to get healthy, it is a cool occurrence when there's just a little bit of something that's not healthy, you notice it. Whereas before, maybe it's the opposite.
Right.
Your life's so unhealthy that health feels weird.
Yeah.
It's a great occurrence but what do you see in a cat, like someone who has screw it all.
Yes.
Like, I'll just go rent chairs at the beach.
Oh, yes.
Because that sounds great.
Well, I love catastrophizing. It's
so do I.
I remember the first time one of my colleagues mentioned it on a coaching call to me. He's like, "Hey, do you notice you're catastrophizing?" I was like, "Damn it, no." And it comes down to that. Our brain loves to be right. Yeah. And so it's simpler. It's much more simple to catastrophize because the nuance can feel uncomfortable. Yes. It's a defensive mechanism. So it comes down to those survival needs again. It's that either or mentality. Yeah. Like, sometimes what I'll draw out for clients is when they're in this either or mentality versus a both and mentality.
Yeah, that's great. Both and.
Both
my favorite.
And. Yeah. It's such I just think our brains aren't always, until we learn and it becomes more natural and it becomes more familiar, we're more drawn to that either or mentality. It feels good. It's almost like we get a hit from it. And it's like, either I had a CEO say, like, well, either I just, like, I'm really passive or I'm a jerk. It's just like this either or. Yeah. And, like, what's the both and in there? Like, what if you could, and we talk a lot about the overlapping circles of candor and curiosity, because a lot of people, when it comes to communication, they have this, like, well, you just got to tell it how it is, or, oh, I don't want to stress them out. Yeah. And they oscillate from that either or, which is almost a form of catastrophizing too. It's like, I can't possibly say that honest thing, or if I say that honest thing, I'm going to get fired. Right. Or, like, there's just
no nuance.
There's no nuance. Yeah. And so the both and is like, what if I could both be candid and radically curious at the same time?
Love that.
And we can do that for ourselves too when we're catastrophizing. It's like, hey, what's the both and here? Like, what's also true? Yeah. Which I think you've talked about as well. Yes, but it's just that it's kind of uncomfortable.
You could coast on your brilliant credibility. You could. Why? What's your incentive to grow? What's your incentive to stretch yourself? Like, what does that look like from this? I don't know if you're comfortable with the term expert. I am using it with you. But coasting on credibility, it's a thing. Yeah,
it's a huge temptation, and I think especially when it comes to burnout, you need seasons of rest. Yeah. And so I do want to make the distinction of rest versus coasting, because I think they're even internally, because we're constantly lifting this weight for ourselves too. Yeah. And I feel so grateful for the structure that we've created at Novus Global, because like you mentioned, we have an internal coaching system. We now, because we're getting so big, we have an internal team system as well. And so I'm on a team with other coaches who are constantly fiercely advocating for me, and I'm also fiercely advocating. And it's hard to fiercely advocate for someone and to encourage them or let them see when they're coasting without me going like, am I coasting? Is that like, am I doing that? So it creates this constant mirror system where I'm asking myself, do I need a season of rest, or is this coasting? Am I coasting off of the success I've had up until now? Yeah. And so I'm grateful because I get asked some of the same questions my clients get asked from me all the time, which is like, what's next for you? what's your meta performance vision in this next season?
Yeah.
So I have to ask myself, okay, with what I'm already doing, what's next? Like, what's next for the level of impact I want to have on the world? What's next for the way I want to contribute to our firm and to the Meta Performance Institute, and how to reinvent the game as AI is changing the game for coaches right now too. You know, so there's so many great questions. And honestly, what draws me back to it over and over again is just how incredibly fun it is to do amazing things with people you like. And I love my team so much. And we're having a retreat next weekend, actually, and we're getting together just to talk about, like, what's the next season of Novus Global look like? Like, what's the next season of the coaching industry? You know, so we love asking those questions. And to me, that is what, you know, Jason always talks about Walt Disney and how he said it's fun to do the impossible. You know, and just like, to me, that's like the constant like bell that gets rung over and over again. And I think if we can't do that with each other, it's hard to hold space for our clients to keep doing that. So I think that's what and there's challenges with that too. You know, we get tired and, you know, we get, it's like, okay, what am I resting? What does meta performance leisure look like? You know, and like, what, you know, that's a question we ask a lot, but, I think just that bell that gets rung, like, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. What's next? Like, what are we going after?
I love it. I think, let me go back to the top as we say goodbye for now, because I know what it's like to be on the other end of receiving information that is it's powerful because it rattles your cage. I want to go back to the first cage rattle. If someone is going to leave this conversation with us and go, at least let me look into my integrity. What can somebody do to start really getting honest about that? Because it was, I had a conversation with Andrew, used to work for me, and we were laughing about how bad, if integrity was under those terms, that was our currency, was a lack of. Not the moral version, the like, hey, you know what I meant. My bad, bro. Like, hey, I'm going to see you at 4. It's 6 o'clock. You work for me. What are you going to do at the end of the day? Like, I'm the boss.
Right.
And that was just from the top down. It's like you just acquiesce, and that's, and so to rebuild your integrity with your own word. But what can somebody do who heard that this whole time? They're like, at least maybe you can't do a million things, but if you felt you resonated with, I might be my personal integrity. Do I do what I say by when I say it? What do you do?
Well, I'll rattle off a few quick things, and then one main thing I think would be helpful. So, one, write down a committed versus interested list.
Well, I love that.
Because a lot of people will shit all over themselves, as we talked about earlier. They'll say, well, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And it's like, hey, why don't you just say, this is on my interested list.
Committed versus interested is great.
I'm not committed to this right now. Because a lot of people will overcommit. And that's one of the biggest problems with then low integrity, because they're overcommitting to look good now. Right. So that's like an easy, low-hanging fruit thing you can do. Invite someone else into the conversation. You know, like if I keep saying I'm going to run at 6 a.m. in the morning, which that is not what I'm committed to, by the way, Carl. But but I've talked to people who like that sort of thing, and I keep like hitting the snooze button. But if you invite someone else into the conversation and say, "Hey, meet me at 6 a.m.," you're more likely to keep your word. You know, have some, like, where does your word live? Like, capture your words somewhere that it's not just up here in your head.
Capture.
So that's a big thing too. We actually also created an assessment that, if you're okay with it, we can link it in the notes. But we have this Accomplish the Impossible assessment that actually helps you answer a bunch of questions related to all of our values. So I don't know if you remember Go Live.
I do.
Okay. So the I in there is the integrity piece.
I thought it was Go Live the whole time.
Well, that's good too.
Yeah. Which definitely works.
I like both of those.
As pleasantly. Hey, about the Go Live, Go Live, I'm like, could be Go Live.
I see both.
But that's actually a deficiency in me. I think I can make everything better immediately. So
Go Live or Go Live. But like, G is growth. So it's growth, ownership, love, integrity, vision, energy. And so this is a very new thing, but we just created an assessment. It's called Accomplish the Impossible Assessment. And you'll answer questions related to your integrity, your energy, your vision, your ability to do all that. And then I think it's like 15 to 20 minutes long. And then if you do that assessment, we'll link it in the show notes. You'll get also a call with a coach who can walk you through that audit. And so it's just like a quick little audit. You know, like, hey, how am I doing? How am I doing with my integrity? How am I doing with my ownership? My ability to create thrilling vision, my energy around it all. Am I exhausted all the time? So that's an easy way that we've provided to help people with that.
You're a powerhouse.
Oh, thank you.
And you're a blessing. And I think as you listen to this, I wonder what you're capable of. I wonder what might you be capable of. That to me is the most beautiful gateway for a discouraged soul, for somebody who's been through some stuff, or even someone who's coasting right now. And you know it. It's like, I could coast like this forever. Yeah. What might you be capable of?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Carl.
It's so valuable. And can you give I think you're an epic follow social media wise, and some of the stuff you put out. Where can people find everything they need to know about some of the things you've talked about?
Yes, I think my handle is Janet.Breitenbach, and I know it's a complicated German last name, but it is. You can find me. And yeah, LinkedIn, JanetBreitenbach.com. It's BreitenBach.
Okay. And then Novus.
Novus.global. You can also go to Novus.global. If you're curious about the program that Carl did to train as a coach, that's mp.institute. So MP stands for Meta Performance. There's a lot of great resources on that site as well.
Hey, what I tell people about that is you might not come out a coach. You will come out a transformed human.
Oh, yes.
Minimum.
Oh, yes.
You're coming out of there looking at your mirror different.
Yeah.
Maximum, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not getting paid to say that. That's a genuine report from going through
I love that.
The grind that it is to really have to look at yourself honestly.
Yeah.
I will never, ever take for granted that beautiful opportunity to meet all of y'all, and especially you were so encouraging during a tough time as I was trying to work out some of that.
Yeah.
And you and your husband Ryan are awesome, and you're appreciated. So thank you for making Lights On brighter.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
Okay.
I'm so grateful.
Talk to you soon.
Yes.
Okay.